This is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast.
Support is one of the most pivotal elements that sits unnoticed behind action. Those that sit in the spotlight did not get there alone. There is an army that sat behind them and facilitated that ability to be seen and accomplish greatness. Faceless, nameless, and unrecognized are the people who are responsible for the safety and well-being of those doing the work. In the modern world, there is no such thing as clandestine or rogue, and those that sit behind the curtain bear immeasurable weight and onus to those they support. The true unsung hero is the one who selflessly goes behind the scenes and makes sure everything is in order. While they are out of harm's way, they are never without pressure. The success or failure to those that are beholden to a heavy weight and burden on their soul. I'm Kevin Donaldson here with Mike Failace, and welcome to the Suffering Podcast. If you're a fan of overcoming adversity and overcoming suffering, then we're for you, because that's what we do here and that's the stories we highlight. So do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, please comment, ring the bell so you can get notified of all of our new content. Now you can join. Follow us on all social media so you can find out what we're up to. On this episode of the Suffering Podcast, we've been waiting to get somebody in here just like this for a long time, and we want to welcome Nancy Nugent to discuss the suffering of a dispatcher, because you guys really are the unsung heroes. Without you, we wouldn't be able to do what we do.
Thank you.
We wouldn't be able to get to where we got to get to.
Before we get into anything, let's throw a big shout out to our marquee sponsor. That's Toyota of Hackensack. We don't trust anybody as police, but we do trust them. So go to toyotahackensack.com and let them find you a car. So, Nancy, each week we take a question from one of our audience members. This week's question comes from Slippery424. How do you get out of your negative thoughts? Kind of a random question.
It is, but I have a very, very easy answer for me. For me, I go out into the woods. I go hiking, take the dog out, just an hour or so out on a trail, and my mind is just totally cleared, just being out in nature.
Sometimes the trees, they talk to you. Like if you quiet down and you're sitting out in the wilderness all alone and just listen to the trees rustle, they're talking to you.
Or even the rustling of the leaves like you're walking on and all that stuff.
And I've done that. I'll stop in the middle of the trail and just, they call it forest bathing, I think, but you just listen. They do. I actually Googled it. I'm like, you have to do it for an extended period of time to actually consider bathing, but, just even for a minute or two, I'll just stand there and just listen. And I consider that my church.
It's a nice way to calm your mind until you run into Cocaine Bear.
Well, that has not happened yet. That has not happened. I probably Googled about him while I was hiking because I heard about it, but that has not happened yet. No bears at all, thankfully. Mike,
what do you think? You and I have gone through a period where our thoughts were almost 100% negative.
And that was just this week.
Yeah, and then, the sun rose the next day. And so how did you get out of it?
It's usually exercise. Back before my neck surgery, it used to be running. I'm having a bad day, I just go out and go running. Now it's just go to the gym or... You just got to find that spot where you're comfortable, your comfort zone. And to me, the gym's always been my comfort zone.
The statistic is that 80% of our thoughts are negative.
I believe that.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah.
80% of our thoughts. As a child, it's much less, but as you grow up, because you see...
Because kids aren't jaded yet.
No, that's what it comes from. It comes from getting jaded. So you try to approach things with gratitude, right?
Right.
This is how I view getting out of my negative thoughts. And everybody, not everybody, but there's a vast majority of people who think that if joy will bring gratitude, okay, it's actually reversed. Gratitude will bring joy. So you got these people out there, if I hit the lottery, then I'll be grateful for everything. How many people you see or you watch on TV hit the lottery and they're absolutely miserable? It didn't bring them any joy. But the people who take a look around at their surroundings and what they did obtain or what they have, whether it's their family or whether it's their dog or whether it's, their job, whatever it may be, if you're joyful in what you have already, then all of a sudden you can have that gratitude, and you're grateful for the things you have. And then all of a sudden that joy comes in secondary.
And then actually, if I kept taking that comment just with exactly what I do as a dispatcher, I have actually thought that a lot because I hear things on the phone. You hear things like, some great, some awful. And I've taken some of those things like, wow, selfishly, maybe I sit there, I'm glad that's not me.
Yeah.
I'm grateful I have this, or I'm grateful
that you don't have this.
Right, that I'm not dealing with this. Maybe I'm not the richest person in the world, but I'm not dealing with that problem. I hope I can help them, but I'm not going home to that. Yeah.
So for me, it's just that's how I get out of my negative thoughts. It takes me some time. I'm not a master at it.
Right.
Trust me when I tell you, none of us are going to be masters at it.
Well, we've gone through where we didn't want to get out of our negative times.
Right. We were comfortable there.
You get so comfortable in that negative spot, you dig that hole and you just want to stay there. You don't want anybody to come. All you want them to do is throw dirt on you, not help you get out.
Push you down, and that's why misery loves company too.
Absolutely.
You sit down at any time, any of these power drinking bars, and if you're looking for misery, you'll find it. You'll find it. So Slippery 424, thank you for sending that one in. Keep sending in your questions, and we will try to get them on the air. So we had this very interesting introduction. Did you reach out to me on social media? Was that how it started?
So what happened?
I'm trying to think of how you made contact first.
I reached out to you after listening to your podcast, which I found, I'm kind of nosy. Someone that I love very dearly is still going through some things, and was contacted by somebody, and me being nosy, like, oh, I need to Google who this person is.
You can mention the name.
Bill Mazer is his name. And so I was Googling him to find out who he was, found out that he was on a podcast. All right, let me see who this person is. It was your podcast, found out that's in New Jersey. And then it just went, I listened to a few and just reached out and said, it's a great podcast. Have you ever thought about having a dispatcher on? And here we are.
Yeah.
We thought for a long time about having a dispatcher on.
But it's hard to get, especially an active dispatcher. Yeah. It's hard to get an active dispatcher on there because there's two ways dispatchers go. You have your career dispatchers, and then you have your dispatchers looking to do their time to try to get on.
Yep.
Yeah. Start paying into the pension system.
Yeah, it's hard to get an active dispatcher because departments, there's a lot of clearance.
Yeah.
When we have active cops in here, we have to make sure that their department's okay with it. You know, and there's restrictions, obviously. And we went through that vetting process with you, making sure that was okay. But so Billy, it's a very interesting story how Billy came back into our lives. We were at Blue Magazine. They were having a moment of silence dinner, and Josh Vidal was there, who was an Atlantic City officer, got shot in the head, and standing next to him, all of a sudden he goes, "Hey, Kevin." Well, I didn't recognize him. I went to high school with him. We both went to high school in South Jersey, and we reconnected, had him on the show, and he is responsible for saving so many lives. And I always say, although he was deputy chief of Atlantic City, what he's doing now is so much more important.
Yeah.
So
he went to high school in South Jersey. How come he's smart and you ended up like this?
He matriculated very quick. It's got something to do with I got. You know what? He had a good family life. I guess that's what it comes down to. So, Nancy, I know a little bit about you, but why don't you tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
Well, I am a Jersey girl, tried and true. I've tried a couple times to get out, always come back. I think I'll be here probably forever,
I have traveled coast to coast, north and south, east and west. I've traveled the whole country. There was like 2 places that I would ever move to, and one of them would have been Las Vegas, but I heard that's not it. And the other one would have been San Diego.
San Diego's beautiful,
but I heard that's going downhill as well. Other than that, it's pretty much the same. Yeah. They all have their Costco's, their CVS's, their Walgreens. They all have it's pretty much the same, except we pay a ton of taxes.
But some places have year-round warm weather, which is I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that's a good thing.
I can't.
For me, it is.
I need the seasons.
Yeah, I need seasons. And I've actually done a half cross-country road trip, and you get back here, and especially where we are in North Jersey, you can be in the city, the country, the beach within an hour or less. You have everything, anything, food, entertainment that you want, any direction.
I am not living anywhere where I have to travel more than 20 minutes to get to Walmart.
Oh. Well, yeah, that too.
When I was out in the Midwest, I was out in the Dakotas. It is one of the most. I don't understand how people live out there because it is so. And I apologize to anybody that's listening from that area.
That's a good way of getting us listeners from that area, Kev. Thanks,
it is so damn flat. I mean, the only thing good about the Midwest is Austin, Minnesota, where Spam is made. That's the home of the Hormel Company, which I've been to Spam Town, USA, which is why I'm such a big fan.
Can't say I've even eaten Spam, but
oh God, you don't know what you're missing. You should try it.
You've had Taylor ham though.
Obviously, and it is Taylor ham. It is not pork roll, so don't even try it.
Here we go.
Don't even try it.
I just read. Hey, listen, I read the package, and the package says Taylor ham pork roll.
It's Taylor ham, and it's 2 against 1 for that. So.
Yeah, but unfortunately, even the Taylor Ham Company has settled that dispute.
Have they really?
Oh, yes, they have.
Wow.
Well, Trenton settled it too. They're the pork roll capital of the world.
Yeah,
They're not
exactly.
to tell him. But
So it's well, again, so traveling coast to coast, I've been living in North Jersey for much longer than I lived in South Jersey. It's, what was it, 22 years or 25 years versus 17 years.
Right.
So when I was traveling all over the country, first of all, I was traveling at a time when The Sopranos were on, and everybody asked, well, where are you from? I said, I'm from where they filmed The Sopranos. That was pretty much it. But the differences is North Jersey people have this way, and it's North Jersey, it's not South Jersey, have this way of, even when they're wrong, they're right.
Absolutely.
oh yeah, they'll fight you to the end.
Absolutely.
Yeah, even when
Yeah.
they're
They'll
wrong,
fight
they're
you
right.
to the end.
Yeah.
It's like, this is white. No, it's not. It's like beige. No, it's
It's
white.
white.
It's
Yeah.
black. The letters are black.
Letters are black. They're a little
Everything else is
yellow on
white.
it.
Yeah.
Right.
Everything else is white.
So that's, but what's it about the state that is so drawing to you?
I think it's, again, what I said before, you can have anything you want within less than an hour. You're not sitting there, oh, I want to go to the beach. All right, pack up. We got to drive 3 hours to get there. Or I want to go to the city. I love that too. I'm not a big city person, but I love when people, who've never been to New York, they're like, oh my God, New York. I'm like, it's just New York. Like, whatever. I see it every day. Like,
That's what I say. We grew up. I mean, the area we're from.
Yeah.
The skyline's right in our backyard.
Yeah.
I've seen it every day growing up. And it's like, there it is.
People are like, oh my God, the big. I'm like, it's New York. It's
Well, yeah,
whatever.
that's how you tell a tourist in New York.
Yeah.
Their heads are up.
Yeah.
That's
But
the,
it's true. But I've taken people to New York, and it's fun to see it
Yeah.
with tourists, because then you're kind of like the tourist. But then I've gone, doing my cross-country trip and other places I've traveled, you see other cities, and you're like, yeah, that's not a city. New York is a city,
I just went to the city last week with a couple from North Carolina.
Okay.
They were like, the wife lived up here prior. The husband was like astonished in New York.
I brought my kids into New York City for the first time. I've kind of shielded them from it. I brought them into New York City last year, and we're walking straight through Times Square. I'm like, oh, yeah, here's where they dropped the ball. Oh, and that guy with his pants at his ankles playing with himself. That's something you're never going to see anywhere else, and that's the
Welcome to New York.
welcome to New York.
Yeah.
Smelling weed on every corner now. It's really bad.
And it's drifted over the river a little bit, smelling the weed on every corner, or behind every car as you're driving.
But the odd thing about that is if you smoke a cigarette in the middle of New York City, somebody will yell at you.
Yeah.
But they will not say anything about you smoking a joint out in the middle of Times Square.
But the thing that does drive me, go for the weed thing, good. But the people who you're clearly behind them, and you can smell the cigars, but then you smell the weed, and it's like you're technically not supposed to be doing that while you're driving. But okay.
Oh,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
and it's
Well, that's
As long as
can't
they're in
stand
front of you and not behind you.
Well, I can't stand the smell of that. I'd rather smell a cigar than weed. There's just something about that smell.
I had a UPS driver.
Yeah.
A UPS driver. I'm driving behind it. I'm driving my son to school, and I'm like, and I'm looking around, and as I'm driving, it's following me. I'm like, that UPS driver's smoking weed. UPS driver.
I'm not so sure people understand. I have a feeling there are people who think, oh, it's like a cigarette. I'm allowed to do it now.
Yeah, it's really not.
It's not my.
So where did you grow up?
So I did grow up in North Jersey, small town, and moved one county away, which is only 5 minutes from that small town. So it's, yeah.
So you're a local girl through
I
and
am
through.
a local girl, yeah. Caldwell's and then moved closer.
Never,
Caldwell's?
The Caldwell's.
Oh,
yeah.
nice.
Yeah,
never stray far from the nest.
Yeah.
pretty much. Pretty much.
I know way too many people in the Caldwells. Where'd you go to? You went to James Caldwell, or did you go to?
I did not. I am the
Or
product.
West Essex?
Neither. I am not so happy to say I am a snotty private school.
Seton
brat.
Hall Prep?
Nope. No.
couldn't. All boys
No, that's
school.
all boys. Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Starts with an M, ends with an A, and that's all we'll say about that.
Starts with an M, ends with an A. I'm going to be thinking about that one for the rest of the night. So
You want me to just tell you? And so
yeah,
you're not,
good. Sure.
well, MKA for short.
No, MKA.
Yeah.
Montclair Kimberly
Montclair
Academy.
Kimberly Academy. Yes.
Oh, Martin Luther King Academy.
She went to MLK.
Yeah.
No, that's not, so. But any college, or did you ended high school?
Nope. I did end up going to college. I went to. It was then. Well, I started out in Gettysburg. I lived a bit of a sheltered then. Now I look back and be like, yes, completely understand because my life is better for it. Went away to Gettysburg. Was exposed to my parents aren't here to tell me. Forgot I was supposed to study.
Yeah.
So it was not a great end to the first semester. Had some things, family member, very close family member passed away during that time. So I came back for the second semester, ended up leaving and had to start all over. Went to what was then Caldwell College. It's now Caldwell University. And that's where I ended up. Had a much better GPA, and that's when I graduated.
Well, you were living at home? Mm-hmm. Now, let me ask you this. Did you have a job when you went to Caldwell College?
Just on vacations and like summer vacation and then Christmas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Usually when you have a job, you end up doing better. A little bit better time management.
And, my parents, like, you just...
Or when you have to pay for college yourself, then you wind up doing real well.
Yeah.
That was my thing.
Or you're reminded of other ways that,
because I
who's
knew
paying for you.
I knew how much it cost me when I missed a class in college.
Yeah.
I knew exactly because I was paying for the whole thing. I was still paying for it.
Like, I don't know if my parents even knew. I will admit this now, however many years later. My first semester GPA at Gettysburg was a 1.25. And that is, even I saw that, I was like, oh, that's not good.
Well, if you're going to do something, do it well.
Yeah.
Do it well.
It was, I had that exposure and I look back, I'm like, all right, I had it. I'm not a partier. It's funny. Like, I did it. I'm good.
Well, what'd you study when you were at Caldwell or Gettysburg?
Gettysburg, I didn't know.
She didn't study anything
I didn't
at Gettysburg.
Study. I studied, how many cases of beer could I sneak into my room? Sorry, Mom. But no, at Caldwell College, I ended up going into communications and then fell into a criminal justice, ended up doubling majoring in criminal justice. I had to pick those, you need to take this class or pick an elective to fill your, and I took intro to criminal justice. I figured that's the class I probably will not fall asleep in. Ended up loving it. And asked if I could minor in criminal justice. They said, you have enough time to major if you want. And I said, all right. And I ended up doing that.
So what was the draw to criminal justice?
Just the people and the things, like what makes people do what they do.
What makes
Criminals,
people tick?
Yeah, what makes them tick. Now I kind of look back like, oh, I should have gone to psychology or forensic psychology or something. But back then I wasn't, I hadn't experienced yet what I've since experienced. So I didn't think that far into it.
Well, that was not, like, you still weren't going on that career path. Was law
Not
enforcement something that
even.
you saw?
No. I had, my grandfather was a cop who retired. He was a Nutley sergeant, retired in 1968, so before I was even born.
Wow.
And, he still worked after he retired. He was the church crossing guard on Sunday. So we'd go down to Nutley. He'd always be up at the top of the hill. And, he would talk about it, but never where I was like, oh, I want to do that. I want to do that. The idea of blood and guts and bad people and all that was not something I ever thought. But I just started thinking that route, and I applied. I took the civil service test. I did not do well on that because filling in the little circles, I don't test well like that. I took a
It used to get me dizzy.
Yeah. I took a similar test, but it was, you had to actually answer the questions and aced it for out of state. Actually, so started taking tests, started, getting interviews and stuff. And I actually did get hired by a federal law enforcement agency. Went as far as going to, it was U.S. Customs at the time, because this is 99, so pre-9/11, pre-everything. And went as far as down to Texas, where I was going to be assigned, met people I was going to work with, sized up for uniforms before I was going to go to the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center. And I got down there, and I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, why? It was October. It was 80 degrees. A guy who was from Maryland who's already working there, he's like, oh, this is nothing. It's like 150 in the summer. Don't worry. And I realized I'm doing something that I really don't want to do. This is not me. Plus, I hate running. So the idea of running at the academy was like, okay, I'm not going to do this.
Try to push that round peg into that square hole. It never works.
So instead of going to FLETC, the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, I got on a plane and went home. And my mom said, she's like, we knew you were going to come home. We just had to let you find your way. So when I got home,
Jeez.
Excuse me.
You grew up vastly different. If I did that, man, I'd get my ass beat.
My father would drag me back onto the plane.
Yeah.
No, my parents were very supportive. They just kind of knew. They let me.
Well, did they ever let go to you why they knew?
I think they just knew from, I'm kind of a homebody. I think they just knew from just my personality and how I've always been. And even with going to law enforcement, I don't think they saw me out there screaming at criminals, chasing down criminals. They know how, even I to this day will say, like, if you ever had to send me to clear a house, you jump out of jump out from behind, and I'm gonna scream and
running
run.
away.
So yeah, and I've told friends, like, there's no way I'd ever do that. Like, I'd be.
Well, I think if I could, and I don't know you all that well, but so the first time you experience anything new in life, whether it's going to the Federal Law Enforcement Academy or clearing a house or anything, you always react. If it's not something you're used to, you always react as if you were a child.
Right.
All right. So when you're scared, you'll revert back to that instinctual emotion. But once you've seen it a couple times, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
You know, what's a
Still scares the shit out of you, but you,
yeah, you just
you learn how to handle
you're like,
it.
oh, okay, I felt this before.
To this day and age, again, I know people are going to hear this. They're hearing things they probably don't know about me, whatever. I'm now 48 years old. I'm still terrified of balloons. Gunshots I'm getting a little better with. I'm over the thunderstorms.
Right?
Not it. Not the clown. No. It's the anticipation. So I see a kid in a restaurant or, holding the balloon, rubbing. I'm like, it's going to pop. It's going to pop. Oh my, and I freeze.
You're afraid of balloons.
Popping. Any sudden loud noises that I don't know what's going to happen. So if you even think about like slamming the table now or say, hey, we're going to do this any second, I will be sitting here with major anxiety.
Kev, when you vetted her, you should have found out. We would have had balloons like behind a curtain.
That's my next question. That's my next question. My next question to every guest that comes in there is like, what's your biggest fear? Like if it's spiders, I'll have a big spider, just to make you comfortable.
Yeah. No, see, I'm smart and that's it. No. Apparently what happened, someone in the neighborhood when I was 2.5, fooling around, thought, hey, let's set off an M80 behind her. Scared the crap out of me. So now
what kind of people
I'm scarred for life.
what kind of people did you grow up with?
This was a family friend that stayed a family friend, still is.
So I guess flashbangs are out for you too then.
Yeah. Anything. So it's not even the noise. I've gone shooting before, but it took me forever. I'm standing there, and the friend I was with, you can do it. I'm like, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's the anticipation. The noise itself, I don't care. It's
that's a sure recipe for not being able to shoot is anticipating the bang.
Yeah, because then you put them in the ground.
Yeah.
You clench and push forward.
And pull them down.
So therefore, if I was ever a cop, had to clear a house, like, okay, are they going to jump out? Are they going to jump out? So being on the phone side of it is a much safer place.
So that one event when you were a child made you hypervigilant to popping sounds or whatever it may be. So you hate those little poppers?
If it happened, fireworks, I think I was, what am I, 48 now? So I was 46, 47 when I finally sat through my first fireworks show without freaking out.
Yeah, I still don't like fireworks to this day. Yeah. Ever since my shooting, I just can't do it.
If I see them, I'm fine with them. But if they, like you said, if they go off behind me or something, bothers the hell out of me.
Once they get started, I'm fine. It's the anticipation. It's something with that anticipation.
So how did this lead you into getting into dispatch?
So what happened? Still thinking, okay, I came home from Texas. What am I going to do? There is a part-time job advertisement for a police matron in one of the North Jersey towns. I was like, all right, I'll try that. I can do that. Maybe I'll get my foot in the door. We'll see what happens. Another thing I've never experienced before. So I remember, and for those who don't know, at the time we were just getting into the time where, maybe we don't want male police officers patting down female prisoners. That can lead to all kinds of problems. The whole sexual harassment thing was coming out. So they trained civilians to come in when they had females. I'd be on call. We had a lot of shoplifters in that particular town. We'd come in and pat them down. The first one I ever get, she's detoxing from heroin. Every possible thing that could be going wrong.
Not everybody showers regularly.
No. And I believe she threw a used feminine product at one of the officers. I'm like, great.
And they usually put things where they're not supposed to be.
Right.
I just saw one of the greatest police searches by a female of a male of a male suspect. She takes her arm like this, straight through the legs, and goes, "Foomp." And if he was hiding anything up there, she would have. It was actually a really good way in a tough situation for the opposite gender to search somebody. She just put her arm through and went up hard, and you could tell she wasn't kind to the guy.
Did she bring tears to his eyes? 'Cause
she might have.
It's one way of controlling the guy too. He's not going to fight after that.
But think about what she did. She didn't grab anything. No. She didn't pat it, but she made the scene safe.
Right.
It was. Right. I thought it was a brilliant move by a female officer searching a male.
Right.
But turn the tables.
Yeah, we can't do that.
Yeah, and that was just starting. So they figured, all right, let's use females. So this particular individual, she's detoxing in the cell. She has to go to the hospital. Take her to the hospital. I have to go in with the doctor. I just remember thinking the doctor pulls up her shirt and just all the, incision, the marks, track marks. I was like, it looks like a freaking raisin. Like, I've never seen this. I had nightmares about that individual for a week. How do people get that way? Why do they? Because once she was helped when are we going to county? I want to go to county. I want to see my friends in county. I'm like, how do people get to that point?
Well, heroin is one of the worst drugs I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And this was 20 plus years ago, so it wasn't even to the extent that it is.
But like going to county, that's their safe place.
Yeah.
That's where all their friends are.
And sure enough, you walk in, hey, how you you doing? I'm like, oh my God. Like, and me living the sheltered little life that I did, I had nightmares about her for the first week. Then I, as you said before, once you do it a few times, it's like, okay, whatever, let's just get this done,
Yeah, it's because it's unpleasant.
It is.
You know what I used to do, especially when female. There's one I've told this story on the air before. There was they used to go to Newark to buy their heroin and then ship it back to Pennsylvania, but they were all using, so they would stop in my town and use. Yeah. Well, girl was ODing in one of the parking lots, and everybody in there, they were all cutters. And if you don't know what cutter is, people are very numb, and they'll cut themselves just so they feel something. Even pain's something that they want to feel, and it just cuts all over the arm. Yeah. And all these, there was one male and 3 females. The females overdosing, and I said, "You got 5 minutes to search yourself. Give me what you," because I know they had something on them. Well, I knew she wasn't going to give me everything, and she goes right down in the front of her pants, pulls it out of her monkey, and hands me. It goes like this. Here you go. Yeah. I'm like, hold on, hold that out, and I go open up the bag. I'm like, all right, drop it in. Yeah. But she didn't take it all out. I didn't know she would, but she ended up ODing as well. But so I had to go to the hospital with this girl, and this is how bad of a drug heroin is. She cut her lady parts.
Oh.
Yeah. I was, what the hell? This is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life.
It is, and I hate this, but you will, flash forward to what we do today when we're looking up people in dispatch, even just license pictures, or we're checking criminal histories where you see
what they used to look like.
What they used to look like.
Amazing.
And you'll sit there like, wow.
Do you ever see that meth faces?
I was just going to say the faces of meth.
It's like, or even just, if we're looking at mugshots and it's the mugshots through years, and you're like, oh my God. Yeah. And it's just from drug use or,
Well, the sad part about that is, and I know marijuana being legal now has its uses. I believe it's abused, my opinion. There is no person on heroin that ever started with heroin.
Right.
There was no person on meth that ever started with meth. Right. It usually either starts with prescription. Now it's prescription pills. Yeah. Prescription pills or marijuana.
We call it gateway drugs.
So I tell this to my kids. I was like, you don't know if you're going to be that person that takes one hit or takes one prescription pill and get hooked, because you could do it once and never do it again. But you don't know whether, because unfortunately, if they had any genes from me, they got the addictive gene in them.
Addictive personality.
Yeah, that's you just don't know.
And the scary thing is, with the addition of fentanyl out there, the number of overdose calls I'm getting has increased just in a few months, in a year, has increased incredibly.
So the greatest thing I heard about fentanyl? So the cartel that El Chapo had, whatever that cartel's name is, they put out a decree. If you are selling our product and you put fentanyl in there, we will come and not only kill you, we will kill your family as well, because it's mostly cocaine for them.
Right.
And that's their business.
That's their business. So they've actually put a hit out on anybody illegally putting fentanyl in their product.
I have not heard that, but I'm safe. So we're good.
Yeah, we're good. We're good. You're not dealing fentanyl, are you? Okay.
Dealing
from
nothing.
behind the desk.
Well, if you are, let's talk afterwards.
You got it.
So you get in the police matron.
So I get into the police matron. I'm walking down the hall one day, and a captain of that department calls out, "Hey, Nance, we're applying for dispatchers. We're hiring. Why don't you apply?" And I'm like, now I'm thinking, well, now you want me to try and save somebody's life over the phone? That's all I knew about it, Yeah. I don't know if I can do that. I can't. How am I going to do this? All right, man, I need a job. I'll do it. Took the little, at that time, it was a little test, just how fast can you type, can you listen? Because dispatching is 99% listening skills.
And being an octopus. The old multitasking.
Multitasking
is key.
At its finest.
So needless to say, they hired me. So I worked for them for about a year. Got taken away by a department nearby who, it was like our sister department. I would talk to them on the phone all the time. One of the bosses actually called up like, "Hey, we talk to you all the time. You're very good at what you do. Come here. We pay this much more." Dollar signs got me. Was the worst mistake I ever made, because the department I'd started with, they were fantastic. I loved going to work. I loved getting up. I loved going to work. It was like going to hang out with my family all the time. So that second department I went to, I worked a very weird schedule where it was 16 hours Friday, Saturday, 8 hours Sunday, Monday through Thursday off. It was great for a little while. I got bored, found another job, completely out of dispatch. It was in fraud investigations. Left dispatch for a while and did that for many, many, many years. From that, went into federal investigations. where I was doing backgrounds on people going for security clearance and stuff. And that company ended up folding. I was the new kid. I got laid off. Was looking for a job. Put out on Facebook, I need a job, if anybody knows. And a then supervisor at the department I started with said, hey, we're looking for dispatchers. I know you're certified. You just have to probably get recertified. Come. And so I did. I got recertified, took the class again, started working there, was there for a number of years.
So what years are we talking about here?
So when I went back, it was 2014.
Okay. And what year did you start?
I started it was probably end of 99, early 2020.
So aside from the technical version of what you do as a dispatcher,
Right.
what is something that you learned that they didn't teach you in a school or a class or a certification?
Everything. Everything.
Well, what is the
job training?
What is one on the job training that you learned?
God.
Because I could tell you right now what I told our dispatchers. If you see me walking in that door undoing my keepers, leave me alone. Don't ask me for a cigarette break.
Yeah.
Leave me alone.
Well, that is, yeah.
It's a bad move.
You learn that by personality, not necessarily the job.
I'll never forget. I'm coming in, ripping off keepers. She's like, "Can I go out for a cigarette?" I'm like, I just do that, and I go right into the bed.
Go
Yeah.
do this.
Yeah.
Number 2.
So you get to know your guys and girls, but the girls are usually, they'll communicate, hey, I got to go do this. Can you? The guys, it's just you got to kind of read their body language. You know?
When they're walking stiff-legged.
Yeah.
The quick walk into the
Yeah.
bathroom.
Yeah. You're like, all right, they're not going to be available.
Duck walk.
Girls we will communicate. Women communicate with each other. You guys, love you dearly, but yeah, you got to figure you out. So yes, that, try not to send somebody at the very last minute. Of course, the ever famous Q word, never, ever, ever mutter the Q word.
What's the Q word?
You're going to make me say, well, nothing can happen here but the word quiet. Oh, it's very quiet.
Yo,
today.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, no,
Yeah.
no,
See,
no,
it's
no,
gotten
no,
so
no.
bad you
Yeah.
can't, yeah.
Yeah.
Because when you say it happens, all of a sudden everything explodes.
Yeah, it's just the board
Everything.
lights up.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah.
It's like, one of those nights, I wish something would just happen just to
Yeah.
give me something to do.
Yep.
That's both of us. Both of us, our worst event happened when
Yeah.
everything was quiet.
Yeah. And my worst or longest or most memorable calls, it was always on a day, nothing.
My shooting happened at 2:27 in the morning on a Tuesday morning. What the hell?
Nothing's going on there.
Nothing's going on at that point.
So I've only worked I'm not a night person. So the few times I had to work night shifts, blissfully nothing. I kind of wanted something to happen because I'm cranky at night. I'm not a good night person. But I found currently it seems to always be at shift change in the afternoon because I work I kind of overlap 2 or 3 shifts with my current schedule. It's always at that afternoon shift change. There's a certain number of hours where everything just.
See, for a dispatch, for us, I don't know about. I'm pretty sure this is the way you were. When we were working 8-hour shifts, I enjoyed working the afternoon shift because you were busy,
Yeah.
and I liked being busy. I didn't like, I wasn't a person to go bed down or hide or anything.
Right.
Makes the time go faster. But I've also sat the desk. The worst time because when the towns were laying everybody off, we had to sit the desk.
Right.
And I came in early during Hurricane Irene, I think it was. Hurricane Irene, it was the bad snowstorm we had at the end of October. Yeah, it was right after Hurricane Irene. So I said, you know what? I'm going in early. I get there, my shift didn't start till 2:45. I get there at like 12:30. I sat at the desk and didn't move until about midnight.
Yep.
And there was 3 of us in there. And usually our dispatch was manned by 1 person. But there was 3 of us in there and we couldn't keep up. We're getting overflows from the surrounding towns and stuff on 911. There's a fire here. There's this, that, tree down here, tree into a house. That was horrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare.
Yeah. And that actually, because I don't know it wasn't a named storm, but we had a very bad storm one night. And I had worked, I think I'd worked during I don't know what it was, but now I'm at home and I knew the person who was going to be it was their first time on the desk. It was an officer. First time they'd ever been on the desk. And now this is happening. And my phone start getting text messages. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go in. I'm not told. I said, do you want me to come in? Yes, please. And I came in, and at that point, the chief was there. The town manager, we're all trying, and the same thing. We're getting overflows from other towns, and it was a storm where it was sudden flooding. And the worst thing you can ever do, especially in something like that, you're trying to deal with the town that you're working for and those people. Now you're getting calls from other towns, and they're 911 medical calls, severe calls. The one call that sticks out, she's screaming, my landlord, he went out, he's plugging a generator in, I think he's getting electrocuted. It wasn't my town. I had to pass it off to them. I'm like,
And you right, and
and you're trying to tell them, hey, you're getting this call, and that's things like that is what all sits in the head.
So when you first started dispatching, I'm going to take you back to when you first started. What was your reality check? Because everybody who's sat the desk in law enforcement capacity, one form or another, has that reality check.
Yeah, the reality check, I think, is like,
you were probably still doing guide cards, because the way, just for people listening, the way it used to be before there was emergency medical dispatch,
right,
we used to have pre-arrival instructions.
Still do.
So
Still do.
We used to have to have a certain certification to do it, and you're flipping up guide cards, and
Yep.
some people didn't. some people, you're yelling to the guy, officer on the desk, "Hey, I'm starting compressions. All right, bare the chest," because they're reading off the guide cards. It's like, I got it, buddy.
Yeah. We still have the guide cards. It's kind of, the guide cards are your savior. If you use the guide cards, you're covered. And I don't care if you're a doctor sitting in the desk, an EMT, that goes out. If you use the guide cards that are put out by the state, as long as you follow what's on there, you're covered, no matter what happens. But back, 20 years ago, we're talking completely different CAD systems, computer-aided dispatch, green screens looking, that's what it's called.
Annie screen, alley screen.
Annie alley. You're talking MS-DOS-based programs. So even then, the amount of information that we had to look up, and just like, okay, not everybody lived the sheltered little lifestyle that I had, where I thought everything was bunnies and roses and, sunshine and happiness.
Can you imagine how much this has changed since we've been there?
Yeah.
We used to write reports when I first got there.
Like NCIC, SCIC, we had to run all these people, and it was a nightmare, because if you didn't sit at the desk all the time, it was trying to relearn, and you're trying to look
And
at
it's
instructions.
codes and this password and that password. And yeah.
Well,
So
in
it has
the
changed.
beginning, we used to have the same password for everything.
Well, do you
And then it started. You got to change it every 3 months.
Yep.
And then the other one was 2 months.
Yep.
So you started using a password, and then the other password would expire, and you get.
So
Do you
it's-
remember?
Leave me alone.
You remember your town code, because you used to have to put that in there when you run.
0232.
Yeah, it's 0714.
Yeah. So the password thing is still a thing, but now it has to be 12 or more characters with this character,
Yeah.
that, and you're like,
Has to be a capital. Has to be a number.
yeah,
Has to be a symbol.
strange character. So your dog's name and your data, it goes out the window. But
But I've seen a lot of departments undervalue dispatchers, and this is one of the reasons specifically that I wanted to have you in here, because they'll think of them as like they're more
luxury.
They're it's like hired help.
Yeah.
It's not a luxury; it's a necessity.
Yeah, without doubt.
so I'm actually, maybe it's just me that, I'm going to go with the departments I started with way back when were great, but I'm going to go with what I know now. Both departments, one more so currently, I've been treated with the utmost respect.
You should be.
It's the public
Yeah.
that does not understand. And I've been called this multiple times. So you don't know anything. You're just a secretary. You're just a dispatcher. What do you know? Put me on with a cop. And I've had people, and no disrespect to the public, because the first thing you're taught when you go for your certifications, no matter what, especially 911, whatever that call is on 911, it's that person's worst
It's
day.
the most important
It's
thing going on in
the
their
most
life at that
important
point.
or their worst
Yep.
possible day.
Absolutely.
So maybe they stubbed their toe, and you're like, really stub? Okay, maybe that person has a very low tolerance for pain. Maybe it's setting something else off. Who knows? So you have to treat that. So no disrespect to the public when they call, but the public is, you're just a person answering a phone. You're just a phone operator. What do you know?
I used to say all the time, we should have like one amnesty day a year when you're working a desk.
Oh yeah.
Someone calls up and says,
100%.
someone's blocking my driveway. Well, fucking deal with it then. What are you bothering us for?
Or you get those. So you do get those mundane calls. We used to get calls. Hey,
All the time.
there's deer in my backyard. I was like, you're in their backyard. I hate to tell you.
So the first department, I'm now at this one department, but I was working for both. One was a very small town. This one's a little more metropolitan, a lot busier. But we would get a lot of city transplants in the small, and I would get that. I had a call. There's a deer in my yard. It's staring at me. What am I going to do? I'm like,
Talk to it. Talk it down.
I was like, look at it. Are you inside? Yes.
Practice
Okay,
your
you're fine.
hostage negotiation skills.
You're fine. Well, I want it to go away. Send the police. I'm like, I can't. It's wildlife. It's normal. Is it injured? No. It's staring at me. I'm sorry. I can't.
Well, one of the nights I can remember, I got sent to a bear call. So there's a bear.
That's a little frightening.
They're like, go up and see what you can do. I'm like, what the hell am I going to do?
Yeah, exactly.
What am I going to wrestle it? I'm not Davy Crockett. I'm not going to be able to grin him down. Thankfully, en route there. Well, this is really hard. Thankfully, en route there was a self-inflicted gunshot wound that I had to veer off and go there.
Jump that call.
Yeah, I'm like, I'll deal with this. I'd rather deal with this than the bear.
Yeah. And I mean, I thank the public every day. Were it not for them, I would not have a job. We would not have a job, you know. But
that's that gratitude that we spoke about very early.
It is.
Yeah.
That's what I always used to say about crime. Thank God there's crime.
Yeah.
Gives us a job.
Yeah. But so many people, including, I'm not getting political, but just the state of New Jersey, you know, only recently recognized dispatchers as first responders. The federal government still working on that. 911 has been around since 1968.
Which I don't understand.
I don't understand.
Right now, dispatchers, public safety telecommunicators, classified under the Department of Labor as its support office and administrative staff. Under protective service, where you have your law enforcement, you have crossing guards, parking enforcement, and I saw flaggers, the guys, you know, yes, very dangerous. You're you know, dealing with kids, you're dealing with traffic.
The liability isn't there. The liability for dispatchers is gigantic.
Yes.
So yes. There are dangers to every position.
There's dangers to everything.
Well, it's a high pressure situation.
It is.
Yeah. It's a high pressure job.
Every single phone call, you have no idea what's going to be on the other end. Even if it's your regular, you see the number come up. Even if it's your regular person, you don't know. And especially when 911, because we have multiple 911 lines, when that lights up all at once, you know it's going to be big, or you know it's going to be. And even with that, okay, maybe you have 15 people all calling about that accident. That 16th person in there might be the one who's having a heart attack. So you can't be 911. Say, okay, bye. You have to treat every single
Yeah, we got
call.
it. Yeah, we got
right.
it.
Because there could be that heart attack.
Are you calling about the accident? Yeah. Okay, we got it.
So we got I worked in a town called Roseland, and we got apparently there. I didn't know this, but there's a town called Roseland, Indiana.
Yes.
Okay.
This is Lyndhurst, Ohio.
So I was on the desk. I got a 911 call. A person laying into me. I can't believe you guys. You guys are disgusting. How could you treat a person that way? This person wasn't doing anything. This is a 911 call, and I go, "Who are you trying to call?" And they're like, "Roseland." I was like, "Okay." And it was some incident where somebody got dragged out of a council meeting.
Right.
Okay. And I'm like, "This Roseland, New Jersey?" And you heard the person on the other end go, "I'll call you back." It's Roseland, Indiana.
And my towns as well, same thing.
Yeah.
Other towns. And I've had some scary, like one of my first times at my current place, one of the very first calls, I'm still in training because I had to learn their equipment. And I get a call, yeah, my friend said he's going to shoot up the high school. I'm like,
Nice.
oh crap, click. Yeah. I'm like, oh great, now what? So I turned to my partner, what are we doing? The DB gets involved. Long story short, it turns out it's a total other state. They thought they were being funny. I guess their state, law enforcement schooled them on that, no pun intended.
Maybe they have different senses of humor in that state.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, so.
In a support capacity for the people out there that are actually in front of that danger, yes, you are removed from that danger, and that's 100% true. But that danger is very real to you because for some sense, you have a responsibility to those people who you're sending places.
Yeah.
How heavy is that responsibility lay on your shoulders?
It's huge. It's huge because not only am I want to get the help to the people who are calling 911 as fast as possible, especially when you hear some of the things I hear over the phone. Now I'm sending what I consider my family out. Okay, they need to get there as fast as possible. They need to know what they're getting into without me going into novels. And sometimes I do talk too much on the radio, but they all, my end goal is every single one of them gets home at the end of the shift or comes back. That's my end goal. I don't care who they are, luckily I like everybody, but that is my end goal. So now I'm like, okay, we're going to save that person, but they have to get there. And this is, this road's closed. And this is, by the way, they have a gun, so yeah.
When you get one of those hot calls and you send people there,
yeah,
then you have dead air.
That's the worst.
That's the worst.
The anxiety's got to be killing you at that point.
That's the worst.
And you don't feel like saying what's going on over there?
It's not even just the calls when we're trying to reach out because there's a couple spots in town where it is the radio doesn't come through. And you just want to send them on a call, and they're not answering. And then they don't answer their cell phone. You're like, oh, God. Did something happen? Because the last contact I had was 20 minutes ago. Yeah.
Do you have GPSs in the cars?
Yes.
So you could find out where that car is anyway.
Usually, if it's working correctly. Yeah.
Welcome to New Jersey.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with that stress of knowing that whatever you send these people to, they're in harm's way?
At the time, I will admit, during you're thinking about it, but you're not, because then you're getting on the next call. And I think a lot of it comes, well, prime example. So there was a call once. It was a 911 call I received regarding a child. The child's parent was on the way home, had gotten a call from somebody at home. The child was in medical distress, serious medical distress. My officers go, CPR in progress, all that stuff. At the end of the call, they brought everybody in, including, and they had a couple
Grief
counselors come in. I believe I can't remember his
Eugene
name.
Stefanelli?
Yes, he was there. And then somebody that works a lot with the PBA union. And I remember sitting up there, and all I can think about is like, why am I here? I just took the call. I'm worried about these guys. I'm worried. And I don't know, other than, I don't know how I personally deal with it because I'm constantly worried about those guys.
Because that's probably what makes you a good dispatcher.
Because, I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
Because you care. Maybe just stop caring.
I do.
You wouldn't have to worry
It's
about
very
anything.
hard.
But you
It's
have to
very
eat
hard.
a lot of that as well.
Yeah.
And that's what the concern is on those types of calls.
It is. I've taken many memorable calls. There's only one call that still sticks with me and will probably stick with me until the day that I die.
That one?
Not that one.
Expand.
It was a call. I'm about to. It was a call. Two people left the house. One's going to go to work. One's visiting. Hey, I'm going to go to work with you. Check out the area, whatever. 3 minutes later, bad accident. One's deceased. One's in serious condition. And I just, the 911 calls came in. It came in completely. Oh, somebody tripped and fell. I'm like, all right, whatever. And I tripped on the sidewalk. Okay. Everybody's getting out there. All of a sudden, one of the officers, can we get a blanket to come on the air? I'm like, okay. It's a little more than just a trip and fall.
Is it cold out there?
Yeah. So
Brought my slippers.
Now we jump ahead. Everybody's out there. They called all the people they have to call. Now the family starts calling 3 times. And the hardest thing I've ever had to do, we don't lie. Sometimes we have to tell
Skirt the truth.
Because there's things that you cannot say on a phone. You're not trained to say it.
You can't
You're
say
not the person.
oh, they died.
Yeah.
Absolutely
you
not.
can't do that.
And as a civilian, you're definitely not saying that, even in person, I had to tell this family, look, I take the call. Once I get the call, I don't know what happens. I move on to the next thing. I have no idea what's going on. I don't, I just sent them there. I don't even know. Knowing within 30 seconds, I had just been told on the radio, a priest, a captain, and an officer were about to knock on their door and change their life forever. And that call still sits with me. One, this person walked out of their house. Hey, see you later. We're going to have, maybe we'll have pizza for dinner, whatever. Love you. 3 minutes later, they're dead.
Yeah.
Doing the
That's
most
tough.
simple,
Mundane
easiest thing
yeah.
that you would never, I don't think that when I walk out my house. Who thinks that? Oh, I'm about to die. You don't. Hopefully you don't.
I've thought of that.
Well,
I thought of that walking out of a bar a couple nights.
and that was a time I do remember. So the same thing. Officers come in. The chief at that time, hey guys, you okay? Never said anything to me. Nancy, go do this. Carry on. Never said anything to me. At the time I was like, all right, that's but I'm sitting there like, oh my God. I just lied to these people and their life is about to change forever. And it was a bad, I can't go into details. It was a bad, horrible thing.
I look at it from my own personal experience. The night of my shooting, there was an officer on the desk, and he had to sit there and listen to us call out over the radio, not knowing what's going on. We're looking for information from him. He's looking for information from us. He's on the 911 call with the guy who did the shooting, and I look back at what that guy went through, and I can't imagine it. And that's not an uncommon thing amongst dispatchers. They just you have this helpless feeling.
You do.
I have recordings of my shooting, the radio recording. The people stepping on each other.
Yeah.
The dispatcher saying, "What's your location? What's your location?" And at that point, we had guns drawn. We weren't about to get on the radio and say, "Oh, we're over here,"
Right.
So just the people that were stepping on each other the whole
Just
time,
the
and
people
nobody.
stepping on each other. Then in a situation like that, you have SPEN, the State Police Entertainment Network, where sometimes
Knock it off,
is-
North Bergen.
Yeah. Where sometimes it is serious. Okay, what's going on? What do you got? Hey, so-and-so. And you're like, I can't answer you. I can't, I'm trying to get these guys. Because the department, where this incident happened, it was me on the desk. And we did everything. Police, fire, EMS. Where I am now, I have at least one partner. But when you're doing everything and you're like, and you get frustrated, but you want to make sure everything goes smoothly. That particular call, I think I played the recording back. Did I do anything wrong? I had absolutely nothing to do with the incident that transpired. I got people there when they were supposed to. And then once the officers, the super get out there, you're basically doing what they're telling you. Call this person, call that. But still, you're playing it back. Did I do it right? Did I say something wrong? But did
I curse?
Yeah. But even the incident, as awful as it was, like I've dealt with calls like that. It was the lying or the small, I hate to say lying, but the small
skirting the
truth, as you said, to the family.
Well, you have to have a little bit of tact. And that's in under stressful situations. So if a civilian, a regular civilian who's not involved in law enforcement, think about how you act under stress. There are times when you're sitting behind a microphone and you're looking at this. I don't know what the boards look like now, but I remember it looked like I was a 1920s telephone operator behind my.
It's one computer screen with
pulling the plugs like the
one
ringy dingy.
Everything's computerized.
It's like if you wanted to answer a phone, you had to press a button and then pick up the phone.
Everything's computer.
Yeah. So, but that's a stressful thing. You're all of a sudden you're in the middle of the matrix and. You look at it long enough, you get it, you understand it, but you're kind of looking at the matrix and trying to still do your job. And there's an enormous amount of liability that if you screw up and there's legal action that falls back on you. So, pressure.
And every little thing that you say is recorded.
Yep.
Be it 911 call, administrative call, everything is recorded. And sometimes, maybe you get one of your coworkers, they're calling, oh, hey, Joe, how you doing, blah, blah, blah. And then now all of a sudden, that call's mixed in with another call. So I actually had, one of my supervisors came to me one day like, hey, I know you're friendly, you know everybody, especially when it's a smaller town, you know everybody who's calling. You got to stop being so nice on the phone. Because that went into a court case where they also asked for this recording. And I'm like, okay, but how do I, because it's
everything's discoverable.
Everything. Oprah was the. Yeah.
So cell phones have changed that a little bit. You can have some personal communication.
You can. But even, you get your frequent callers. You're not giving out your cell phone number to them.
No, I'm talking officer to officer.
Officer to officer.
Yeah.
But even then, you have to be careful because you can't say, hey, call my cell, or hey, I sent it to your cell. Because once it's out on the air, that becomes discoverable.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
That's why you got to have a nice code.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're busy, you forget. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, you know what I always found amazing about dispatcher? You send an officer to a call. That's his call, right?
Yeah.
That's his call to, let's say, worry about.
Right.
You might have like 5 other calls backed up, and you got 5 calls you're worried about. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Where that officer, it's his only call. But the dispatcher, we used to have officers work the desk. We didn't have dispatch. We had them for a short time. But when we were in lineup, we'd give the guys their assignment, and the guy who worked his desk, we used to say, you got the stick. Because the stick drives everything.
Right.
And the dispatcher is the one that drives that whole shift.
Boy, that was like a slow death to me when I got assigned to the desk. I did not like working the desk.
I have had officers who don't normally work the desk, who have worked the desk. I don't like it. Put me on the road. I'd rather work out there and deal with all that and I'm like, I don't understand like the big to do, but I'm used to it.
I knew there was a big feeling of helplessness when you're sitting behind a microphone. I like to be outside in the open air. Even to this day, I like to be outside. I can't stand the confinement of it.
Yeah.
So I never really fit well in there.
Yeah.
I did it because I had to.
Yeah.
That was my job.
But on midnights, the desk chairs are a lot more comfortable than a police chair.
Even then,
police car chair, I should say.
Even then, it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
Like
it's not for a lot of people. Most of the people I work with now who are in there, they're kind of getting close to the end of their career, and even then, I've one of them has been on the road recently. He went out. It was first time out in a long time, and now I'm sending him on. Oh, there's a possible felony vehicle. It's like, really? This is what you're sending me out on? Like, I haven't been out in years, and this is, But he made a joke about it.
Right.
But that's the other thing. Mike mentioned, like, okay, the officer has 1 call, you have 5 in there. But that's the other thing I worry about. All right, I just sent Mike to that call.
Then you got a triage.
Yeah. Now I'm triaging. Oh, well, there's like 3 more calls in Mike's zone, but he's taking this big. Now I got to send him to this because these guys are busy. And you start thinking about that because you guys are human. You get tired and you don't want to piss off. You do. You worry about like, oh, I know they've been to and I guess it's their job, but you still worry about that because you don't want to wear somebody down. Now they've got 7 reports in the queue, but sometimes you just have to do that.
But it's not all gloom and doom.
No.
There are some. I'm going to venture to say you laugh quite a bit.
Yes.
And
yes.
So my here's the way I used to get back whoever was working the desk if they did something that maybe I didn't like too much. I wasn't mad at them, but I wanted to let them know, hey, cut the shit. I would run a license plate and whatever name, some of these names have like 32 letters at the end of them.
Yeah.
Give me I think it was 1020. Give me a 1028 on this vehicle. It comes back to, okay, who's the owner operator? And listen to, like, what's the name? I would just make them read the name. Just
spell it out phonetically.
Yes. And that was part of the fun. But what's the funniest thing that you've ever experienced where you actually chuckled about it?
Well, it's more so like some of the calls that I've gotten rather than with the guys. The big thing that I use with the guys is I've discovered I'm older than most of them, like significantly, 17 to 20 years. You don't think it, and then I realized like, oh, so I did recently,
So you start making Cosby Show jokes, and it doesn't land.
Flintstones jokes.
Yeah.
If I say nobody puts baby in the corner, do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, of course.
Right.
Of course.
I said that to somebody one day. They're like, huh?
Yeah.
I'm like, Dirty Dance. Oh, I'm like, the movie. Never saw it. I'm like,
yeah. How do you like?
yeah.
I know cops that have never seen the movie The Other Guys. I'm like, how are you a cop? Like, what is
the despot?
Yeah. How do you not see The Other Guys?
Yeah, but we're getting older. The cops are getting younger, and so sometimes you're like, look, I'm technically old enough to be your mother. You will respect me. You'll be nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I would say the funniest thing. Again, I love the public. The public thinks the police has the answer to every single question on the planet.
And they think that they know every cop in the world.
Yes.
Oh, you're a cop? My cousin's a cop in Des Moines, Iowa.
Yeah, okay.
Do you know him? Oh, yeah, sure.
Or-
I think I ran into him once.
Or I know your chief, and then they completely butcher the name. I'm like, oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, But I've had somebody call.
I know your chief. So do I.
Yeah.
Right?
He's a good guy, isn't he?
Yeah.
Give me your license, registration, insurance.
One call I got, somebody called up. I answered the phone. It was not 911. How can I help you? Can you tell me what side of the car the steering wheel's on? I'm like, excuse me? Can you tell me what side of the car the steering wheel's on? I'm like, I guess it depends on how you're looking at it. I'm thinking sitting in it to the left. Okay, thank you. Click. I'm like, okay.
Wow.
Tried to call back the number, because sometimes you get calls and it turns out, because I had a call like that where the guy was saying somebody's breaking into my house, and then things he started saying, you're like, oh, maybe we're having a medical episode here, Tried to call the number back, no answer. I was like, all right, maybe I answered a bit. Maybe, I don't know.
You got Prince Albert in a can? Let him out.
Yeah.
We had an older lady. First time she called, she was onset of Alzheimer's. She called us up on a midnight shift. She's whispering into the phone. There's people in my attic. So we send flying up there. They're breaking into my house. There's people in my attic. We go up there. The attic is a crawl space. Couldn't be anybody there. So now we realize the lady's getting Alzheimer's. So we said, we scared them away. We told them never to come back anymore. They're not going to come back. I said, but what you should do to stop these people from coming into the house, take tinfoil and put it over your appliances.
Oh no.
I've done this too.
That'll keep everybody out. Oh, thank you. A couple weeks later, we get called back there. And the lady's daughter's there. We walk in. There was tinfoil on everything.
Oh.
The TV. She had a stereo. The toaster oven. Everything. So the lady's daughter was there, and she goes, officer, can I talk to you for a minute? Sure, what's up? She goes, who told my mother to put tinfoil over everything? I said, it was me. She goes, that was great. That is fantastic.
See, no, I can't go that far. But, if I get things like that where I know, because some people but you can't just treat, okay, well, sorry, you have to send an officer. I need to speak to an officer. All right. So you'll put the notes in the CAD, and you'll just say, because everybody, you never know who's listening, especially with technology today. You'll just say notes are in the CAD, and you'll put, possible whatever, especially with our frequent flyer callers.
It was so much more fun back when I first got on, because yes, stuff was recorded, but it wasn't. It's not like it is today.
Yeah.
We had a guy. He used to dispatch his Beavis and Butthead. I'm not kidding you.
Okay.
He used to dispatch his Beavis and Butthead. It was the funniest thing I ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
But yeah, but there are times when it's fun. A lot of pressure, very serious, and just like police officers, how you break that tension is through a little bit of humor, and that's how you become family.
Yeah.
I was on a desk one day. We had a car fire. It was late at night, so I sent one of the old timers down to it. And he was the guy. Whenever you sent him a call, he goes, "It must be my lucky day. I'm right in the area." So, sent him to this car fire, and I said, "Is the car occupied?" And he goes, if they are, they're fanute.
That is why you could never be a cop, because if you ever go to a car fire, and what do you see in movies? Like when the car's on fire and the gas tank blows up. Well, that doesn't really happen. But what does happen is the tires explode.
Yes.
And that'll pucker your asshole a little bit.
Yeah.
Especially if you're afraid of balloons.
I've done that with newer guys where I've seen a car fire and they're looking at it, and I got my cell phone camera up and I'm videotaping because I know it's coming. Sure enough, boom, and they think the gas tank, they go running behind the guide rail. But
if we can continue with that, because I was hoping that would come up, the one thing I want to tell people, we triage you, as you said. 911 is absolutely nothing like what you see on TV.
Yeah.
Police work is not what you see on TV. It never will be.
We don't have commercial breaks.
Right, exactly. We don't solve everything in 45 minutes.
Yep, exactly.
It's not. And I have had people who called, well, I saw this guy.
I watch a lot of Law and Order.
Yeah, exactly.
CSI. So prime example, somebody called. This person was out there. They were drinking something. They put it in my garbage can. Okay. Was your garbage can on the street? It was. Okay. On the street. Technically, it's rude that they did that, maybe, but it's on the street. It's something. So when are you sending the detectives out to fingerprint it? Should I wrap it up? Should I save it? I'm like, we don't do that. Well, don't you want to know? What if they cause trouble? But you have to be nice. And it's easy to be nice, but sometimes you're thinking like, oh, okay. You can't flat out say it's not like what happens on TV.
Well, so we're of the age where the World War II vets started to die off. Mm-hmm. So what the World War II vets used to do is they used to bring home war trophies. I don't know if you had this in Lyndhurst. A lot of them brought home grenades.
Yep.
Grenades,
I've had those calls.
There's a grenade in the attic.
Shells.
Can't you send in like the robot? Like, no, it's going to be a guy going in there and getting it.
Yeah.
So if somebody were so inclined to get into this profession, which I believe is a rewarding profession, it's a difficult profession, but it's rewarding.
It's a necessary.
What do you think your advice would be, doing it for as long as you have, would be to that person getting involved?
First of all, definitely get your certifications before you come. If it's something, yes, it costs money, but a lot of people, I'm not doing it until I get the job, or I'm not going to do it until I see. You can easily especially in New Jersey, you just Google, because the state police just Google New Jersey PST or public safety telecommunicator. The state comes up with a list of places you can go. I want to say, I know, as you said in the beginning, a lot of people come in, I'm doing this because I want to become a cop. Try not to be that person. Or if that's your interest, come part-time, because dispatch, it'll give you a little experience. You'll get to know people. It's not going to
jade you.
It'll jade you. You're not going to learn the police job. It's entirely different.
And I've seen it go both ways. I've seen people get hired off the desk, but I've also seen people get pushed out and would never get hired because, hey, if you're a shitty dispatcher,
right,
you're probably going to be a shitty cop too.
Well, because the police world is ruthless.
Yep.
And these dispatchers see how cops treat each other.
Yes.
Because, like you said, like Kevin always says, it's like crabs in a barrel. One's trying to get out and the other one's grabbing it and pulling it back down.
Yeah.
It's a ruthless business.
Have a sense of humor if you can.
Don't take anything too serious.
Don't take anything too seriously. Kind of jump in. I remember the first day I started at my current place, somebody came in. They said, "Oh, so sorry, Nate." And I just answered right back. They're like, "Oh, I really like you," because it just, you're conditioned for it. Doesn't mean that's who you are as a person, but it helps. It gets you through the rough times.
You have borne witness. We're coming to the end of this thing here, and you have borne witness to some real suffering.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And you've had to send people to people at their worst days, and you've had some really difficult days. There's a lesson in it, though. And what do you think that suffering has taught you?
That suffering has taught me that I am the person who, I still want to help you. I don't care what your mood is, I want to help you, but I also have to, at the end of the day, at the end of my shift, go home and kind of put it aside and help myself a little bit. And that's been a big problem.
That's what a lot of people don't do. A lot of people in the business don't do that, and they keep eating it.
Yeah. And that's a big, because I will get home. Sure, I'll think about the calls, but then my phone will ring. People that have like, hey, how do you do this? And I'll answer every text, every phone call. Instead of, I'm off now, ask somebody else. Or I know you know how to do this.
You just can't leave people in the lurch. It's not. I don't think
can't.
that's in your nature.
I can't.
And remember, people don't call 911 to tell you that dinner's done.
Well,
they're calling you because there's a reason for it.
I can't say that hasn't been done. that is one thing I want to express, even if it's the last thing I say tonight. Cell phones, everything. Everybody accidentally dials 911. Please don't hang up.
Yeah.
We're going to call you back.
We're going to call you back.
You're not in trouble. Just say, hey, I pocket dialed. Or I was trying to turn my phone, especially with the iPhones, I think. You got to hit it 3 times. Sometimes it goes into emergency mode or you're trying to turn it off. Just stay on the line. You're not in trouble. We're not coming after you. I just need to know, hey, is everything okay? Did you do it by accident?
We're coming anyway.
We're coming anyway,
Yeah.
So thank you very much for coming in
Thank you for
and
having
talking
me.
about this. Is there anything you want to throw out as a plug?
Not really, honestly. I mean, dispatchers, if you can reach out to me on Instagram, DM me, NEN1020. We need dispatchers. Dispatchers just in general, not just my departments. We need them.
There's a shortage.
We need them. Massive shortage.
Yeah.
Massive shortage.
Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much, and
Thank you.
keep up the good work. Keep doing what you're doing, and say hi to my friend that works in your department.
I certainly
I'm
will.
sure she'll be watching.
I will yell. Thank you,
No,
guys.
you speak in normal tones.
She's amazing.
She'll
I love,
yell.
yeah.
She'll yell.
You always know when she's there.
And that's going to do it for this episode of the Suffering Podcast, The Suffering of a Dispatcher. And let's think about all the stuff that we learned. Keep balloons away from Nancy. It's the first thing I learned.
She comes back, though, one day.
Yes.
You know
Because
where
I know there's
going
going to be balloons in dispatch.
balloons
When this goes out, I'm done. I'm done. Yeah.
Never, ever, ever say that it's quiet.
Yep.
Unless you've done the job, it's really hard to criticize it. But most importantly, police can't do their jobs without people like you, without our dispatchers. And that's going to do it for this episode. Don't forget to go to popple.com to get your digital business card. Put in the code TSP20 for a 20% discount. Follow us on all social media. That's Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter.
OnlyFans.
Follow Mike at Mike_Failace. Follow me at Real Kevin Donaldson. And, of course, follow the Suffering Podcast. And we'll see you on the next episode.